Well, good afternoon again, Peter.
Rusty, how are you doing?
Yep, fairly well,
Did you
mate.
get any Easter eggs?
No, my wife ate them all. She's an Easter egg instructor, mate. You put one there and it's gone. I wouldn't. God, unbelievable, mate. No, I'm not. I'm not a fan of chocolate, I'll be honest. However, what we've come to talk about today is your opinions, your thoughts on Who Dares Wins, the TV reality Channel 4 program. Okay. Who Dares Wins, SAS, Who Dares Wins. However, your thoughts or lack of, we will bring out in the next 20 minutes or so. Before we go into that, your book, No Mean Soldier, Peter, just about to get your hands on it very shortly. That's been reprinted. It will be going out. There it is. And it should be with Peter in the very near future. The film, Killing Escobar. Everybody knows who Pablo Escobar was. He's no longer with us. Peter, in his book, talked very much about it. Said it's only a small part of his book, but actually it's a film. For those who want to and keep asking where they can see it, just Google it. I can't tell you where to go exactly. Google Killing Escobar. It'll come up. It'll tell you where you can see it in which cinemas. Okay, they're all virtual at the moment, but there is a list. Whatever suits you is the one you need to go for, obviously. Then we've got our Facebook page, doing really well, collecting lots of people at the moment. SAS Special Air Service Military Collectors and Facts page. No waltz, please. We don't have waltz on the page. We're trying to keep it as best we can, and it's doing really well. If you've got any like-minded people, get them onto that, and let's get the numbers rolling. They are really going up now very quickly. Then you've got Peter McAleese SAS TV. That is Peter's YouTube channel, which some of these interviews are going to be on. Take a look at that. And then, of course, Peter has his website up and running, www.petermacaleese.com. Okay, enough of that. So we've come to talk about Channel 4 SAS Who Dares Wins. And I've said mine. People have seen what I thought about the program. Peter is before me, before I ever joined the regiment. He has his own personal views. And I've asked him today if he'd like to just mention them to people, let them know what it was like when we served, before I served, and how it is this day and age. So to start with him, Peter, you are aware of the show.
I am, yes.
And you've seen it. And I think the first episode was somewhere around about 2015. Let me have your thoughts, Peter, of what you think about that particular show and the realism in it, the lack of realism. We've got to bear in mind that it's a viewer's audience, which I feel sorry for a lot of them, but hey, that's the way it is. So let's have your thoughts, Peter.
My thoughts. I feel that either the SAS has changed an awful lot since I was in it. And what it brought out to me was people crawling in mud, people being shouted at, people being driven. I just know in my time it was not like that. I was never shouted at in the SAS. I was never asked to crawl through the mud. And I found the instructors there, you know, they'd have their judgment, but it would never be made known to you. I was never lectured. I was corrected a few times, but never lectured to. I was never called in to say, you've got to get this together or get that together. You either passed or failed. That's how it was. I was blessed by having fantastic instructors there. And they passed an awful lot on to me and it was merely a learning process. It wasn't there wasn't any sort of punishment in it. You know, if you did something wrong, you paid the price. If you didn't make an RV in time, the trucks left without you and you had to make your own way back to Hereford, be back up at 4 o'clock the next morning, ready to go back down to Brecon again. I've never understood this punishment thing. At the same time, I must hand it to the men, the people who ran the programme. They were all fit looking, and the way they moved about, they carried themselves well. I felt there was a bit of acting there. It could have been pressure by the media to come across in a certain way because they know it sells movies. So were the guys playing for the audience, playing for the media in order to sell the program? I don't know. I just know that it did not represent, in my eyes, what the SAS was all about.
Now, I think we're not here to gather my thoughts today, really, but I will mention that. Would you say that, I don't know if you I watched the very first one way back in 15, I think, thinking, I'll give this a watch. You know, I never watched it since, and still until last year. That was the next time I watched it because I had to give an account. So I had to watch it to make sure what I was talking about, I knew about. That's the way I did it. When I saw the first one, it wasn't for me because I think, I don't know about you, would you say that the way it's portrayed on there, that it's misleading to anybody in the public watching?
To me, it was totally misleading because I have never experienced personally what they were dishing out on the program, the way they were handling things. It didn't seem like an SAS approach to me, but again, I'm not there anymore. But I just, to be honest, I switched the program off because I feel that the way it came across did the regiment a disservice.
Well, the regiment don't say an awful lot, do they, about what goes on, unless it's totally over the top. The program that I remember watching, one of the first ones, I thought that, you know, once I found out that it was very limited with SAS knowledge, if you like, it was people, in my opinion, that were doing a job for the TV, as you said, to try and sell a program. But because it was misleading, nobody was picking up on it. And they thought, you know, we've got these special forces guys in, but they weren't SAS. And they call it SAS Who Dares Wins. Now, even to somebody who doesn't know, that is misleading in itself, because I don't know how many people have come up to me and said, you know, what they think about the program. And is it really like that? Well, I have to tell them the truth, and I have to tell them not in my day. And I hope it isn't like that in today, because it will not be the SAS that I know. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you can enlarge on that, Peter, because of what you've just said.
I feel that the guys were being directed by the people who made the movie. I don't think there was anything wrong with any of the guys. They were fit looking, they came across well. I just didn't like the approach that they used with the people, and it was not the way I was treating the SAS. But again, what I will say is that was many years beforehand. It was not, it didn't come across as what the regiment is all about. That's what I felt.
Well, no, I mean, you know, the first one to say that, I mean, some of the guys that I knock around with in Hereford, they'll never watch it again. Most of them have turned it on to see what it's all about. But when you ask them about it, they don't even want to talk about it, Peter, because it's not what they know. It's not what how they were trained. You know, it is make believe for TV. And I feel sorry for the people who actually think, if they do, that that is the way it is. Well, it ain't, and never has been. And I'm like you. I had instructors that used to teach. They didn't need to shout. They didn't need to bawl at you. You know, I've done that in the commandos, and I suppose you've done that in the paras. That, you know, but that is not the SAS way of doing things. And never, as far as I'm aware, never has been.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in the paras, there was a great joke there. You know, when the instructor was finished talking to you, you had to take your handkerchief out and wipe the saliva off your face.
Yeah.
It's probably, how can I put it? If the guys have never served in the SAS, how can they portray it?
They can't.
That's what I don't know.
They can't. Maybe that's why they were picked in the first place, because they would be easy to manipulate. You're never going to get me and you or some of the other guys we know to go along with how they portray it. That's never going to work.
Yeah.
So maybe they've just gone for some fit-looking lads, SBS in particular, and said, right, this is what we're going to do. And because they've got a weak leader there, I would say that they've just gone along with it. But what they've done is they've gone along with it and people have followed it. That's the worst part about it. You know, I'd like it, if it's going to be a show, to have it done properly.
Well,
because I didn't serve with females in the regiment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm just saying I didn't serve with anybody that was females. And in there, you've got somebody who comes on for one show, collects a large lump of money, walks off the show the following week. And that is SAS? No, not for me.
I agree with a lot that you've said, Rusty. Is I think maybe the producers of the program were a bit in the wrong. Maybe it should have been called the SBS. This is the SBS.
Yeah.
If there was that much SBS influence in it, and the SBS, let's face it, it's a good unit. But you know, I think what you've got with the SBS and the SAS, you've got two people, two groups going to Piccadilly. They're just taking separate roads.
Yeah.
And the as I say, they definitely never portrayed the SAS.
No.
But I know the Marines go fairly heavy on guys, and it's their way of doing it. It's the Marine way. There's nothing wrong with that in the Marines. No. But and you've been there yourself. But I feel it just wasn't SAS. That's all I'm saying.
No, well, that's what we come on to talk about, you know, and let's be honest. And when I was watching the last one, I watched a couple of programs to make sure that I knew what I was going to talk about. And when I looked at it, it was how much of it was orientated around water.
Yeah.
Right. Forget the hills where we go and do our job. It was water-based, jumping out onto water. It was water. Yeah. I never seen so much water, you know.
I know, but if those guys were Marines, it's what they were comfortable with. Can you see it?
But it's not SAS.
Yeah.
You know, the swimming pool was the only thing I saw that was water when I did my selection. You know, that was it. Because it was all done on hills and hard work. But yeah. So just to sum up on that bit, you weren't happy, like a lot of people I know, with the portrayal of SAS.
I feel maybe the men let themselves down in that they may have been manipulated by the producers of the program. I don't know. But, you know, they didn't come across as some of the people who took me through selection and some of the people who came through selection with me and were later instructors on selection troop. It didn't come across like that. That's all I'm saying. I don't doubt those men's fitness. I don't doubt their integrity. But what I do doubt is the fact that it was portrayed as SAS and it never came across like that.
Now, well, I'll go with you on that one for definite, and I've already said my piece. But it's a shame because it could have had something with the right leaders, with the right guys, and it could have had something there to offer and show people really. We've seen them before, you know, with John Mack and then with Are You Tough Enough and stuff like that. That was more like it. You know, when those programs come out a few years ago, people have related this to that, and there's no comparison. You know, and that's all I'm saying. It's reality for an audience. It isn't reality because it's real.
I mean, maybe the producer looked at the program and said, if you look at the SAS and you look at the SBS don't come across as media excitement. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Because everything's so cool, so casual, so well done, so methodical. And if you don't measure up, platform 4.
That's it,
there's no second chances. That's all I can say.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, you've summed it up. You've seen it. It took me a while to watch it, but I did. And if you were at school, you could probably get a little mark there, could do better. Yeah. So hopefully Channel 4 will get themselves together. I know they've had a bit of a change around with personnel and stuff. And I just hope that they hoist something in for the next series, because there will be another series, different personnel. But, you know, let's get it ramped up to what it should be. And let's get people where we can turn up and say, you know what, that was pretty good. It's still reality.
Yeah.
But it looks far better, you know, and we don't have to talk to your friends about it. You don't even want to switch your TV on.
What I do feel is if you're going to make a program on the SAS, try and get SAS guys in it.
Well, that would be a start, wouldn't it? You know, so that would be a start for definite.
And of course, what we mustn't do here is take away from the SBS what it's all about. I mean, those men are good at what they do. There's let's not take away from them. But as you say, the program was very water orientated.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, mate. And with that, I'd like to wrap up for today. Comments, please. No doubt there'll be plenty of them, good and bad. That's what we're here for. Our thoughts. Today it was Peter's thoughts. And of course, I've done mine already. So let's look forward to the next one. Peter, anything to say before we finally wrap up?
I want to thank the audience for being there. And there's any SBS guys out there, it's not an attack on the SBS. It was what the SAS is about.
And not only that, I'm still going to call them shaky boats, and nobody's going to stop me.
I was going to mention that. I mean, it's professional banter.
Of course it is. It's been there for years.
How far can one take childishness, you know?
Yeah. So with that...
In fact, you know, the guys in the SBS probably like being called the shakies, you know?
Of course they do.
You know, yeah.
It's what
it's their identity, you know?
Yeah, it's there. So with that, shakies, I'll speak to you again. Lovely to meet you all. Bye.